Selamat siang, good day and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's interesting webinar. My name is Atar Yadi and I'm Business Manager at NTT DATA Business Solutions Indonesia, and I'll be responsible for hosting today's webinar. But before we start the session, please see our company profile video of NTT DATA Business Solutions.
So, you want to know how we transform your company into an intelligent company? This will be more than just a quick change. This is an extensive roadmap, as unique as your company.
But we are very unique.
That's why it starts with you. You built a company over many years with patience and love.
It's all natural growth.
You made it this far, so why change a running system? But have you ever thought about what could be improved? Having more satisfied customers, employees, and business partners, consistent data readily available for decision-making, and even working sustainably?
Are we outdated?
This is your chance, Robert. Make a wish.
I already have some ideas. The dynamics of our industry require stable core structures that can adapt to quick changes and new developments. Therefore, we need a state-of-the-art IT standard tailor-made for our needs.
Yes, that's where we come in. Don't worry, we've seen it all and know the market. Our clear focus on SAP, combined with services, solutions, and our own products, make our value proposition unique.
What is that?
Your way to an intelligent enterprise.
And what's happening now?
We enable you and your people to transform, grow, and be more successful. We drive innovation from advisory and implementation to managed services and beyond. We continuously improve your business solutions, and we absolutely love to find and develop innovative solutions to fit your specific needs. Who knows? Maybe you will discover exciting new business models.
Sounds way too easy.
Of course, that's just a simplified representation in our commercial. But it could be real if you and we become us.
So this is a team effort.
Yes, Robert, it is.
Excellent. Let's start our transformation.
Let's work together. 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 Together.
Great. So today we'll talk about how to support the company growth with optimized document management that will be presented by our expert team from NTT DATA Business Solutions Nordics. And please me to introduce you to our special speaker, Jonas Minchak.
Thank you very much, Atta. Yeah, my name is Jonas, and I'm the director of the IT document handling suite. I'm located here in the Nordics, more precisely in Denmark, in Copenhagen. I'm heading this suite, this suite of products that we have that has the main focus of automating as much as possible in regards to documents. Yeah, I've been working in this area for the past around 15 years and have been on this journey, gradually, steadily increasing how much we can automate in this area. Yeah, I think that was my introduction, Atta.
Yes, we're pleased to having you today, Jonas. And let me try to introduce you in your profile. Maybe to can open the profile of Jonas again. So Jonas is our director for approval and capture products line of business of NDBS Nordics. He will lead our IT document handling suite team, and previously working with SAP FICO, HCM document recognition for the past 15 years and more than 8 years of experience as product owner of it.capture, formerly IT Smart Scan. And his specialties is on the document recognition, product management, SAP workflow management, automation, business process outsource, Scrum, pre-sales, and solution architect area. And he has broad experiences with SAP SuccessFactors, SAP integration, SAP ABAP, workflow management, hosting, HCM, SQL Server, document management system, and SAP REFX or real estate. Okay, anyway, Just a little housekeeping before we get started, Jonas. If you all participants have any questions during the webinar session, please type them into the chat box and or just list down your question, because we also have time for Q&A session at the end. And okay, Jonas, as we know that the COVID-19 has forced all companies to radically rethink their businesses, including how they manage the document processes. What do you think the typical pain point and challenges that customer facing to not using a product such as IT document handling suite?
Well, there are definitely multiple challenges, but well, let's try to think of a document example. Let's say you're dealing with purchase orders. So you have a lot of customers that would like to buy something, which of course is great. And every single time that you receive a purchase order, you then need to convert it into a sales order. And let's just use one purchase order as an example. One purchase order could consist of 100 pages, which would actually be a good thing. So it's a customer that would like to buy a lot of different items. Each page could have easily 10 items. So 100 pages times 10 items on each page, that adds up to 1,000 items. And then for each item, there's typically a number of values that you need to capture and that you need to kind of replicate into your ERP system. That could be SAP, it could be any other ERP system. So it could easily be up till 5 values per line item. So then we'll multiply with 5 again. So now we're up to 5,000 values that we need to record, capture from the document, and then kind of copy, replicate into our ERP system. And for each value, there is a number of keystrokes that you need to do on your keyboard. So it could very easily be 20,000 keystrokes just for that one sales order, that one purchase order that you needed to convert. And hopefully your company are receiving lots of purchase order. There's lots of customers that would like to buy different things. And if you're then dealing with this process manually, you are also looking at spending thousands of hours just replicating your values of documents. That's just one example where you end up spending a lot of repetitive work in this area. Yeah, and some time that could be spent on something that would be more valuable to the company and maybe also more valuable for the employee. Another challenge that we also did see for companies having a more manual process in regards to dealing with documents was, well, passing a physical paper around an organization all the way to the manager and to different departments. Well, obviously that also generates a risk, especially if there is a flu or a COVID situation or whatever. And then suddenly you have something that is changing hands quite a lot. That could also, of course, create a health situation, a health challenge. So just 2 examples of what kind of challenges that we see. Others that I could also share, that would be if you are again having a manual process, then one thing of course is just to capture all the information of the documents. But let's say it could be a sales order. Again, someone needs to approve that we actually want to sell this to a customer, or it could be an invoice. And if it's an invoice, we typically also would like to approve that we actually would like to pay this supplier, that we actually did buy this thing on the invoice. And if that's the case, well, if you have a pure manual process, what you would typically see is that you receive the invoice. Typically, you will actually receive that by email as a PDF attachment. Then what you would do is print out the PDF, so it becomes a physical piece of paper, because you would need to stamp the document and you would need someone to sign the document for that manual approval of the invoice being paid. And yeah, first of all, that's kind of time consuming. It's also kind of a hassle to print out documents that was initially digital, just to pass them around manually within the organization, and then scan them in again at the very end to make them digital again. So yeah, for those reasons, again, it really makes sense to have a digital process from the very beginning till the very end, instead of having these in between or intermediate steps that are physical and manual. One more example of where we see companies spending quite a lot of manual repetitive work or manual time, that is for their account assignment step for invoices. So again, if you're doing that manually, then for every single invoice that is not connected to a purchase order, you would need to code the invoice lines, also referred to as account assignment. And again, you would need to do that on a line item level. There can be 10 lines, there could be 100 lines on an invoice. And again, the more lines that there are, the more time consuming that would be per invoice. And again, most companies are receiving in the thousands of invoices per year. So you end up again with a task that is indeed very time consuming and also very error prone. Because I guess that's the fourth thing I would like to highlight. When you're doing all these things manually, if you're passing a document around the organization manually, then there's a high risk that at some point the document get lost, could end up under a pile of other documents on a desk somewhere. It becomes very easy to track where the documents actually is. I guess the only way you can really track it just is by someone maybe remembering where they put it the last time. And yeah, that's one of the things that's of course also a struggle, because the whole process becomes more error prone. And the same goes when typing in the values manually, so copying the values manually from the documents. Maybe you could get around, if you're really good, doing 10-20 documents perfectly, but at least if it's me having done that all day, the more documents that I'll do, the more mistakes I will also do at the end of the working day, especially if I need to type in 1,000 values of a day. And then that's just easier for a machine to do, because the robot doesn't really get tired, no matter how many documents that it needs to process. Yeah, I think that highlights at least some of the challenges that we typically see for companies that are dealing with documents in a more manual way.
Yeah, that's really happened anyway. And from that, what do you see then? Or semi-automated solutions for the document handling? Why shouldn't they continue that?
Well, if we start with the semi-automated solutions, we were actually one of the companies that used to create just that, a semi-automated solution. So that consisted of some software that you would install in the customer's environment, and then it was the customer's responsibility to ensure to operate that software in the best possible way. This was especially for the capture part, where we are creating documents. So in that way, so they also became responsible of ensuring that this automation level of the software was as high as possible. It worked quite well, actually, for some of our customers. We did see automation levels, and when I say automation, it was a document that arrived in an email and then automatically was created in the SAP environment without the customer having to do anything. So full automation. And so we did see automation levels where more than 50% of the documents passed completely without human intervention. So it was just done completely automatically. But there was still 50% left, and we were one of the leading companies in producing such capture software. So what about the remaining 50%? Well, those were only partly automated, and the customer then ended up spending some time both maintaining their capture software to ensure that automation level was continuously stayed high. And I would still argue that they, of course, spent less time compared to just manually typing in the values, but they were still spending too much time because they were still spending time on just getting the documents created, just replicating what was on the documents. So what we decided to do was to try to get rid of that remaining 50% that was not fully automated yet. We wanted it to be completely automated. 100% of the documents should go through without the customer seeing them. So what we did was to create a cloud version of our capture software instead. In that way, we could benefit of having a lot of different customers connecting to the same cloud. And in that way, we could reuse all that we learned from the various documents across all the customers that we have. And then we have our own expert users operating the software, and they have years of experience in ensuring that our software runs as automated as possible. And then there will only be a few % left that the machine, for some reason, cannot automatically create in the SAP system or the Microsoft Dynamics system, whatever the backend system is. And for that, we then have a safety net with a service center. We have one located in Malaysia, one in Bulgaria, that checks, okay, why couldn't the machine, the robot, handle this document? And the reason could actually very easily be because it's not an invoice. So we would have a dedicated email account for invoices. If there's a bank statement that ends up in that email account, then obviously that cannot be created as an invoice in the backend system. So that's where you need that safety net of someone that will then check, okay, what went wrong with this document, and can then afterwards take action. What we would do with a bank statement, then send that to an email account at our customer and stating that, well, this couldn't be created as an invoice because it's a bank statement, and then on to the next document. So yeah, that tries to summarize some of the challenges with having a semi-automated solution. You end up spending quite a lot of time sitting there and maintaining your product and trying to optimize that it automates as much as possible. And then again, you end up in a situation like the one that I described before, with a pure manual process where you're not really using your expertise and experience in the most optimal way for the company, because you end up again sitting there and just doing repetitive work instead of using all that business knowledge that you have as an employee. Yeah.
By the way, are you sharing your screen, Jonas?
No, not yet.
Yes. Okay. I thought that there are error on the screen sharing. Okay, then we continue. So can you share to all the participants how does IT document handling suite try to solve all of those challenges that have you mentioned before?
Yes, I indeed can. And now I actually will share my screen. So just give me a second. Be able to see my screen now. And you should also be able to hear the audio. This video tries to summarize what it is that we are trying to accomplish in 1.5 minutes, and then I'll go into further details later on. But I think it provides a quite neat summary. Let's watch that.
In many companies, an incoming document has to pass through a large number of hands. The sales department receives orders, the accounting receives invoices, certificates come from the production, the warehouse management receives shipping documents, and the HR department deals with contracts, certificates, and notifications. A lot of time is spent on handling. That is, if the process is manual. NTT DATA Business Solutions has created IT Document Handling Suite, which is an automated, cognitive, technology-based solution. It's based on robot software and artificial intelligence, which means that all values of the documents are automatically recorded and categorized in your company's ERP system. And with artificial intelligence, the system only gets smarter the more documents it handles. Using the system will save you at least 60% of the time spent on handling documents, and the price is simply per document handled by the system. So overall, the benefits are no manual labor and repetitive work, no installation, no documents get lost, no hosting costs, no license fees, and no updating costs. Instead, you get business resources that can do more valuable work, elimination of manual errors, easy to find digitally archived documents, and a simple price per document. IT Document Handling Suite by NTT DATA Business Solutions.
Yeah, so that was the quick summary of what it is that we have been trying to achieve with our product suite, with the document handling suite. And if I could try to dig into some further details. So let me share my screen again. So if we start from the very top, so what is the IT document handling suite? Well, it consists of a number of solutions. Yeah, you see them here on the top, but this is actually only a subset of all the solutions that we have. Last time I counted, we had 14, 15 different solutions. And a solution is kind of equal to a document type. So we have one solution for invoices, another solution for converting purchase orders to sales orders, and a third solution for order confirmations, for certificates, for contracts, for expenses, for certificate of analysis, customers' documents, and remittance advices and rental agreements, and lots more. I would state, however, that we see the highest interest for invoices and purchase orders and order confirmations. And I do believe that one of the reasons for that is where you see the most manual work connected to the documents, because that's where you need to copy the most values from the documents into the backend system, being SAP or Dynamics or Oracle. So that is, of course, also why you can save the most amount of time by getting a solution for automating that. And so for all of these solutions, we can then use one or more of products that we have created in order to cover individual steps of a document process. And the document process steps that there typically are is that you would need to create a document, then you might want to enrich it with some values, some data that you cannot find on the document, but there might be some experience about how to deal with those documents that we can then use to enrich them. And then after a document has been created, then sometimes you also need to approve it. If it's just a document that you're archiving, then typically you would not need to approve that. But if it's an invoice, then indeed you typically would like to approve that you're actually paying this supplier. And at the very end, you would typically also want to archive that document digitally. So for the create process, we have two products actually. We have one called it.capture and one called it.xcdi. And the capture product deals with documents coming from emails typically. So it's emails being sent with PDF attachments. And the PDF attachment could easily be invoices or purchase order confirmations, or even other document types as well. And then it ensures both taking that attachment or those attachments connected to the email. So it will load those in automatically, and then it will begin processing the documents. And processing the documents is the same as you would then do as a human if you would copy off the values manually. So if it's an invoice, you will look for the invoice number, the invoice date, all those values that are important when you need to register that document in your backend system. The same would go for purchase orders. You would look for the sold to and the shipped to and the delivered to address, and it will look for the purchase order number and all the material numbers, etc. And then automatically copy those values into the backend system and create that business document that will then typically trigger the follow-on process. it.xcdi, the other product, that is for EDI documents. So that's XML, invoices or purchase orders, order confirmations. So we can also very easily deal with those standardized document types. And the enrichment part, well, that is for now actually only for invoices, whereas Capture and XCDI is for a lot of different document types. But for now, the enrichment part is only for invoices. And for that purpose, we have created what we call it.document AI. Think of an invoice. If you have done account assignment for maybe 2 years, maybe just a year, depending on how fast learner you are. But then you would very quickly have learned how different invoices should be sent to different accounts, how you would code these invoices. So you would then know if it's an electricity bill, then it needs to go to this special account that we have for electricity. If it's pens or paper, then it would then need to go to the account for office supplies, and so on and so forth. But again, you would still need to do that on every single invoice that is not connected to a purchase order, and you would need to do it on every single line item. Again, very, very time consuming. What it.document AI does is that you plug it in to your SAP system. It's a Microsoft Azure cloud product. So we create a VPN tunnel between our cloud and the customer's ERP system. And then when it's plugged in, when it's connected, then we'll begin looking through the past 5 years of accounting data, and then automatically learn from that on how you should do this invoice coding, how the documents should be assigned to different accounts. And based on that, it will create its models, and then afterwards it will be able to automate. And what we see is that more than 90% of all the invoice coding will then be done automatically by Document AI, just leaving less than 10% of this manual work to some end users. That could be accounts payable, it could be within the organization. And afterwards, we get to the approval part. That we have IT approval for, and the idea of IT approval is to ensure the most optimal process for getting the documents approved, the most lean and the fastest way of getting those documents approved. As you see in the very bottom, that's actually the only product that is on premise, and I'll get back to why that is in just a second. It can use the HR hierarchy in order to determine who needs to approve the document. You can define various thresholds for amount limits, etc., and control a lot of different rules about how your approval workflow should look like. And at the very end, we have the archiving part, and we actually have 2 archives. We have one that is very focused on success factors, that is our it.dhs archive. And then we have it.capture archive, that is more for any other business documents that you just need to archive and connect to your SAP environment. Some customers already have an archive available, and then we'll just use that one. But if they don't, then they can use ours. That is very, very cost effective. And as you see in the bottom, then we can deliver our products, most of them, as a cloud offering, except IT approval that is on premise. For it.capture and Document AI, that's Microsoft Azure. it.capture is a full service offering, so that's why our end users, our customers, don't need to do anything. Same with XCDI and Document AI, that's also fully automated. There's not something that you would need to do as an end user. You can monitor some reports, but besides that, things are happening automatically. However, with approval, there will be invoices or purchase order, all the documents where you will need someone to approve that you have to act on those documents, either pay them or create the sales order, and also maybe in some situations for order confirmation, it's quite important that you would know that this supplier cannot deliver on a given time, because then you might need to find a different supplier that can, in order to not stall your production. So So because of that, and because there's a lot of business logic that you typically need access to when approving various documents, we decided to put IT approval solution right in the middle of SAP. So it's what you call an SAP add-on. And that means that you have all the business logic from SAP available when you are to make these decisions about approving a document. Yeah, and Archive, is also a cloud product. That means that the documents are also located on an Azure cloud. But if you are to open them from SAP, you can't see the difference. They would open exactly as if you would have a local archive using the same SAP functionality to display the documents, etc. Yeah, that was my summary of what the suite is. Just stop sharing my screen again.
Yes, thank you. Very clear explanation from you, Jonas. And then we see that again. We all know that OpenText also has vendor invoice management in their SAP price list, which come close to it.dhs solutions. What do we choose? Why? And why do we choose it.dhs instead of Vim? What are the key differences between them? Can you share to us?
Sure. Yeah, it's a question that we receive quite often, and it's also quite obvious why we do, because on SAP's price list there is a line that says OpenText Vendor Invoice Management, and that can pretty much do, at least to some extent, what I just tried to explain that our document handling suite can do. However, there has actually been quite a number of customers throughout the years that have decided to replace their OpenText solution with the document handling suite. I'll try to go through some of the reasons now and also some of the benefits with the document handling suite compared to vendor invoice management from OpenText. Well, as I just described before, if you remember solutions, we were not only for invoices. Our suite could also be used for sales orders, for order confirmations, and a lot of other document types. And well, vendor invoice management, that is for invoices. We can do a lot more than that. Another thing is that with vendor invoice management, and actually that's also the case with most other solutions, they are where we started out. So what I described before, where we came from, where we also created some software that could partly automate the process of capturing the information. Well, we have moved on from that. And we are now fully automating that process of capturing values from documents. And we have even gone beyond that and are now also learning from experience, that is then data in SAP, about how account assignment was done, in order to also automate the account assignment step. And that's two differentiators between us and actually not just OpenText vendor invoice management, but also a lot of the other suppliers of such solution that there is in the market. We can fully automate the process, not just partly, which means that our customers will not end up in a situation where they are still doing repetitive work in order to get the documents created. And that goes both for capturing information of the documents, but it also goes for actually doing account assignment for invoices. What that actually means for the customer is that if you begin calculating the total cost of ownership, then you would actually see that it's much cheaper to go with the document handling suite compared to go with Vim or actually most other solutions. Yeah, maybe the final thing I should also state is that well, OpenText is on SAP's price list, so yeah, that's for SAP. Our solutions, our products are not just for SAP. We also have customers that are using Microsoft Dynamics 365. and a lot of other ERP systems. We even have customers that uses the capture part of our suite, so the create part of our suite, in combination with RPA, robotic process automation. And RPA tools are the UiPath and Automation Anywhere, just two examples. And we actually have live cases where one example is a very large pharmaceutical company that is using the it.capture part to capture information of certificate of analysis documents and then pass those values onto a robot that they have built in UiPath that will then react on those values. There is some specific threshold values that if the value is above that, below that, there are some certain actions that needs to happen, and then that the robot will take care of. But it needs the data. That's kind of the fuel for the robot, and it.capture is the one feeding that data into it. Yeah.
Yes.
So as you see, there's a lot of different possibilities with our suite, and yeah, maybe if just to finalize that, what we would actually typically see is if our customers have not started the automation journey yet in regards to handling documents, they would typically start out with invoices, and then when we have automated that process, then they would very often continue with the purchase orders, sales orders, and then if they are a production company, then typically they will also continue on to order confirmations.
Yeah, pretty much clear. So the it.dhs is combination of OCR technology, AI technology, and so on and etc. Like you mentioned before, and we see also the key differences between both of product, so the customer can consider the suitable solution for their businesses. And I think we also want to know where IT document handling suite were used in order to solve the customer issue of handling their document process. Can you please share to us some proven example of that used in the customer?
Sure. Yeah, let me use two examples then. So from two different case studies. The first is from a customer named Bang & Olufsen. I'm not aware if you know them, that they produce consumer electronics. So that's flat screens, it's headphones, earphones, high-end speakers, and it's a luxury brand. So it's very, very high-end, and some quite neat designs that they have. They're a global company, and they approached us because they were not fully satisfied with the solution that they used to have, and that was actually exactly an example of a partly or semi-automated solution. So what I tried to describe before, where they still needed to do, but it still has some manual efforts in order to get the documents created in the SAP system. So what we did was to replace, that was Kofax Capture they used, to replace that with it.capture service in order to fully automate. Yeah, and that's the situation today. We have fully automated the creation process of invoices, and we're even supporting them with also the workflow part, getting the documents approved by them using IT approval. And what they also see now is that after they took that step and decided to go with us, they are now in a much better position for exploring further steps to support automation journey. And that journey of automation is one that we see that a lot of companies are now taking. And we are indeed in a very good position to help them out. Yeah, just to try to summarize, they had a manual process for the invoice registration that was not really as efficient, and it was also quite cost heavy. And Yeah, and the old solution that they had was not really in line with the ambitious journey to streamline the organization and focus on their core competences. If we look at some of the benefits that they see from the solution, well, automation optimization of the invoice registration flow in it.capture service has delivered significant cost and time savings, and that was exactly the goal of trying to implement this solution. And also the scalability of it.capture service delivers full transparency and flexibility in cost structure, so they know exactly what it is they're going to pay for getting these documents created. There are no hidden numbers, hidden figures, because of a lot of manual effort spent, which you of course don't really know the cost of. And then they're using IT approval globally to further optimize the invoice flow thanks to pre-approved purchase orders. Yeah, and the shift away from manual invoice registration has freed up resources now converted to focusing on value-adding process optimization, also resulting in an improved sense of purpose for the accounting team. That sense of purpose is actually also maybe one that is forgotten sometimes. Just sitting there and doing repetitive work day after day is maybe not the most interesting job to do. So being able to automate that can actually free those resources to do something that is indeed have a higher sense of purpose, and also has that for the company. That was one, and another. This was an example of invoices, so that's typically where the journey starts. So I thought I wanted to bring another for what you would then see further down the automation journey, and that is for sales orders. This is Nilfisk, another customer of ours. They used to deal with converting their purchase orders coming in from the customers to do that manually. So sit there, copy off the values from the documents, and getting the sales orders created in SAP. They are an SAP customer. If we start with the quote from Lena, who is the project manager at Customer Service Nordic for Nilfisk. She states that I'm simply crazy about this robust solution. It digitalizes our order process, reduces the number of key errors, and in the end, it releases resources that we can use to optimize our customer service instead. So again, it's not like they are freeing up resources, they are just improving the service that they can provide to the customers instead. Some of the challenges that they used to have was, well, desire to automate the entry of sales orders into the business system. Order entry is the process that requires most key entries. Who is the customer? What did the customer buy? And where should the products be delivered? And they had a desire to reduce that manual processes and increase quality in order handling. So the benefits, possibility of 100% automated scanning, recognition, and registration of sales orders in the ERP system without human interaction. The solution can be adapted to any company's need to control and monitor documents. Sufficient, standardized, higher quality because there are no manual entry. And again, it releases resources connected to order management, which can now be used to optimize the service that they provide to these customers instead. Yeah, and I can continue with these stories. We have more than 250 of these stories, some of them documented. But yeah, we have more than 250 customers globally. So there's lots of them.
Yeah, so interesting. So it's really proven to solve the customer problem related to document process digitalization here. And I'm a little bit curious that is that the solution that coming from our European team as well as the customer that you mentioned before from European countries, yeah? And what are the languages does it.dhs cover? Does it cover Southeast Asian languages? Because all of our participants today coming from Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, which would be very helpful if the solution is support in our languages.
Well, I'll not go through all the languages that we cover because it's actually 189. So it's a quite long list. And yeah, we do indeed cover all the languages used throughout Asia. We do indeed also have customers throughout Asia that are using our solution. Yeah, from where I'm sitting, the furthest to the east for me is Australia. And we do indeed have customers in Australia. We do have customers using our software in Japan and China and Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and so on and so forth. Throughout the countries in Malaysia, we have service centers in the Philippines that is also using our software, and across Europe, and also across America, and all the way to the western coast from Australia. So we pretty much cover the whole globe, the whole world here in regards to where we deliver our solution. And we are indeed also actively processing documents throughout Asia every day.
Yeah, so 189 languages. It's a lot.
Yes,
by the way.
correct. It's really a lot.
Yeah, and gives me impression of the seriousness of the it.dhs product team, to serve customer from various countries in the world. And I think this is my last question to you, Jonas. Before we start the Q&A session, how long does it take to implement the solutions? That is easy to deploy on the customer system? Something.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the easiest questions that you asked me, actually, because we have done this a lot of times. So the timeline for implementation is 3 to 8 weeks, and then the number of days that we actively use in the implementation is 3 to 25. And why the difference, you might ask? Well, of course, it kind of depends on what parts of the process that we are to cover. Is it just a creation process? Then it takes less days than if it's the full suite that we're going to implement for, let's say, a invoice solution. Then it takes more days. But if it's just a capture part, we can do that in 3 days. If it's both capture and document AI and IT approval, and also the archive, will spend 25 days. And then there can also, of course, also be combinations in between of just capture and document AI, and then it will be around 8 days. And if it's only document AI and IT approval, then it would be maybe 15 days.
Yeah. Thank you very much for all your explanation. Really insightful. And also to all of participants today, if you have anything more to discuss with our team, please contact our team. And we'll be happy to share with you more about our solutions today. And now I think we're going to have Q&A session because we have limited time. And for all participants, if you have any questions, please raise your hand using our Microsoft Teams toolbox. And yeah, and I think we have one question in the chat box from UD, by UD. Okay, I will mention the question from the chat box, Jonas. Can WA or WA or you mean WhatsApp be used as input, and can we integrate the result to document management system to store the documents? And another question is how long the implementation period in general? That already answered that before.
Yes.
Maybe Pak Yudi, you can clarify your question if you need it, or.
Well, if I can at least answer the last part of the we have multiple customers that are using DMS to store the documents. So the archive that we provide is just an option for the customers that don't have an archive themselves. And yeah, you're right. That's a WA was WhatsApp. Yes, that could definitely be done. What we would then do was to have we would have RPA in between WhatsApp and it.capture. So then it would be a very simple robot that will monitor a WhatsApp account. I assume that it's because it could be customers that are sending in orders on WhatsApp, or yeah, maybe even invoices. But yes, indeed, then it could monitor WhatsApp, and then it could collect the documents, the PDF documents from there, and then forward those by email or by dumping them into a folder. There are different ways, different options that we can choose, and then the create process could then start from there. The capturing process could start from there. So yes, Yudi, that is indeed possible, both using WhatsApp and also integrate the results to DMS. Yes, we use. I see a different question from Yudi now. Follow-up question: can we use other OCR engines? The question is a little technical, because actually it doesn't really matter to you, because what we guarantee with the service that we provide is that we collect all the valuable information of the documents, and then that is what we'll then send into your ERP system. In the background, we use various OCR engines. We are in some situations using Kofax, in other situations we are using Google. That depends a bit on what the use case is. But you actually don't really need to worry much about what engine we use, because we provide a guarantee that what we do is not just providing some technical OCR result. We create the business document in your backend system.
And there is another questions from Yudi. Can another also what about the licensing?
Yeah, it's subscription based. So it's connected to how many documents that you have. So you can subscribe to up till 5,000 documents a year, up till 20,000 documents per year, up till 50,000 documents per year, and then that subscription will then ensure that you are covered up to that certain max amount of documents. And if you go beyond that, then you'll just pay a per document fee. That's pretty much the price model. You just subscribe, and then you pay on a monthly basis for the service that we provide.
Yes, thank you, Jonas. I think I will continue with my questions about the license. Is it comparable to using manual labor? Can you share us the pricing and to use it.dhs comparing to using the manual labor? There's a lot of company that still considering that.
So, well, typically it depends a bit on how many people that you have doing this, and how effective you have made it yourself. But I would state that typically the TCO is less than 50% of your manual effort, and very, very often we see a cost reduction that is 90% and more. But again, it depends a bit on how efficient you already are today. But that is also not to say that you necessarily need to get rid of a lot of employees. What we typically see is that you would then actually just change their focus to doing something that is more valuable for your company.
Yes.
But if you are purely focusing on cost, then you could very easily see up to, if we think of it as time, you could very easily see it as a 90% of time that you are saving compared to doing it manually.
Yep. Is there any questions from the others? Because we has around maybe 5 minutes again for the session. Please, if you have any question to discuss, just raise your hand. Nothing more. I think my last questions from me. while waiting for the others, if there is one question again, yeah. Can you share about what is the different from RPA system, some products like that?
Yeah. So what the reason, like maybe I can use some of the examples that I used before. So why would an RPA tool like UiPath Automation Anywhere, why would that need our Create product in order to ensure that it gets feed the right data in order to automate the follow-on process? Well, the reason is that we can much more advanced do document recognition, much more advanced than the tools that is currently bundled together with Automation Anywhere and also UiPath. So because of that, that's the reason why UiPath departments at various companies, various customers of ours have reached out and asked, well, we need to do something a little more complex here in regards to finding values on documents that we need for our RPA process. Is that something that you can provide? And well, we have not had to say no yet. So we can do something that is much more demanding and much more advanced than just RPA. And if we are then looking into the various solutions we have, well, our invoice solution is deeply integrated into the backend system, and that provides a number of benefits compared to just have RPA that tries to key in the values in the backend system. We will react on all the various situations that can occur. Supplier not created, what to do then, the company code not existing, the posting period being closed, all those exceptions, we get that feedback in real time when we're trying to create the documents, and we have processes that are in place in order to also handle those various situations that you don't get with RPA.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's no more other questions, and we are at the end of today's webinar. But before that, we have a short polling session that pop up into your screen. Please help us to filling them to get your feedback of today's webinar. Thank you. I will give maybe 1 minute to filling them.